flight to Tinian tomorrow. Excited. No nerves. It's a little Cessna, a little puddle jumper. Not the greatest weather in the area. But just excited to get to Tinian, knowing that my grandfather was there 72 years ago. Still don't know the exact story. I know he's in the 5th Division of the Marines. My great uncle had told me that he was in Tinian. I've got pictures of him with the Enola Gay in front of some flame trees, different pictures that appear to be images that could be on Tinian. But then his brother, my great uncle, said that he was on Saipan as well until his return back home in the States in 1946. So interesting. I wish I knew a little bit more of the story of his life in World War II so I could connect all the threads together. It's amazing, that generation, they just don't talk or didn't talk. And now they're all passing on. He's passed away. My grandmother's passed away, who probably knew a lot as well. But hope to find out one day. I'm sure someone's got the information, or it could be dug up in some archives. I'm going to try to get some sleep now. Try to knock out. All right, guys. See you in the morning. The night of very little sleep. Mostly toss and turn. I don't know, maybe it was the bed. Maybe it was anticipation. Catching that flight over to Tinian this morning. Making sure I'm on time. Weather. But waking up. Heading out. Get some coffee. About 20 till 6 right now, so gonna head to a little place called Hermans Bakery, well known here on Saipan. Okay, breakfast is calling, man. I'm starving to death, so on my way there. Heading out of the hotel here. Okay, off we go. Let's head to Hermans. Morning, how are you? Let's get in this little blue toaster here and head to eat. Hungry. Of course, when am I not hungry? And excited. Okay, here at Hermans. My stomach says it's not a minute too soon. Let's just hope this isn't like some establishments on my island. It says it opens at 6, but nobody gets in till 6:30. My stomach won't be too happy then. Never should have doubted this place. 6 o'clock, they're open, ready to go. Look at that bread. Cookies. I see some snacks for Tinian right here. Some of my favorite Sandies. Yep. Going to Tinian with me. Oh yeah. Alright. We got time to kill for an 8 o'clock flight, so
Yeah, you got a lot of time.
oh yeah. Should be good for a flight right here. Corned beef and onions.
And your eggs?
Let's go ahead and go scrambled.
And your rice.
So hopefully the weather holds out. Once on Tinian, just what my plans are. I want to get up to the runways where the bomb pits at for the 2 atomic bombs that were dropped in World War II on Japan. Again, I'm particularly excited because my grandfather was there. He had photos of the Enola Gay. The Enola Gay obviously was the plane that took Little Boy, the bomb Little Boy, and dropped on Hiroshima, Japan on August 6th. So lots of history. May not be the greatest history in the world. Some brutal, violent history, but hopefully as a human race we've all learned from it. And we don't repeat ourselves. Checking for Star Marianas. This is actually the boarding pass right here. A little laminated something. You waiting on one person to show up, huh?
Right? Sorry.
You came into work just for me. Okay, made it here to Tinian. So I got the rental car and going to be rolling around the island and looking at some of the sights here. I think the first place we'll head is out to the runways. And I'll show you around the runway where the B-29s, this was considered the busiest airport in the world back in '44, mid-40s, with all the B-29s in and out of here. Okay, this is one of the main roads here. I'm heading up to the very, very northern point. Heading up to Ushi Point, which later became North Field when the Americans took over. This is one of the main roads. This is still Broadway. It's pretty interesting. All these roads here are named after American names. Keep care of the rental car today, but some pretty rugged roads here. They were a lot better when I came here 22 years ago. Pretty overgrown now, lots of potholes, but I tell you what, for Tinian, for what little resources and money they have, they've done a great job for 20 years of keeping this stuff in shape. I'm sure a lot of tourists travel on this stuff to come look at these monuments and shrines and areas set aside here from World War II, both Japanese and American. Okay, my first stop is the Tinian Blowhole here. It's pretty cool. So walking down the cliff line here. But check this out. This is right alongside the blowhole. This just shows that there's still an active presence out here. U.S. military still uses this site. Don't think I'll be crossing this fence. That's the Tinian mortar range. So don't know when the last time it was used, but I passed miles and miles and miles of this fence. So I won't be testing it out. That is a Tinian blowhole. It's been a while since I've seen that, man. That's pretty cool. That's just a natural formation there in the reef line. And whenever a swell comes in here, it forces air and water up through that hole and creates quite the blow, man. That's cool. Here comes a good swell here. Let's see what it does. There's a good one. Ah, it was kind of a blowout there. That's cool, man. There's not much of a swell either, so I can imagine if a big eastern swell was blowing in here, the thing would be erupting like a volcano. This is the assembly area right here. This is where the atomic bombs were built. I assume both of them. So let's go down this trail and see where it takes us. I'm not gonna go. It's pretty cool for maybe a truck or something through here before me, but not in a rental car. And something over here, some sort of a, might be part of one of the runways. I see. You guys, if you don't know what this is, I know in America they're hot topics right now, monuments, and the removal of certain monuments, but take a look at these. Tell me what you think these monuments are. I wouldn't call them monuments, but memorial areas, I should say. I don't know, maybe the same damn word, who knows. That's one. I'll show you the other and I'll tell you what they are. On a runway here, what appears to be a runway, or a staging area, if you will. There's the second one. So I'll show you what they are. I'll get out and walk around them and explain them here. Okay, what this is actually the pit that was designed for the first atomic bomb. Okay, the first atomic bomb, if y'all remember, it was loaded onto the Enola Gay. Little Boy was comprised of nearly half the world's enriched uranium at that time, which was secretly brought out here on the USS Indianapolis. USS Indianapolis had just dropped it off just days before. It prepped the bomb. Then the Indianapolis had sailed from Tinian here to Guam just for a crew change to receive new orders to go to the Leyte Gulf. After it left Guam, days later, early morning, July 30th, it was tragically sunk by 2 torpedoes. Out of the nearly 1,100 men that were on board, only 317 were recovered, survivors. So man, a lot of history, powerful stuff. And I'm moved just being out here. It's the Japanese Air Administration building here. It was later used by the Americans, but it's pretty bad shape right now. But again, nearly 80 years that this thing has been here through battle. I could only assume these were the latrines, the restroom. Little freaking squat slit toilets right here. Right across from there, maybe a bathing area. I don't know, that's pretty cool. Is that a bath, I wonder? In the kitchen area. That looks like that could have been an old stove, an old brick stove. I don't even know if it's a good idea to walk up this stairway here. Rooftop. I don't want to venture too far onto the edges out there. You can see already there's a big hole down here. So this is the Japanese Air Operations Building. So this is where all the details for flight would have taken place. Targets and objectives throughout the Pacific that they were wanting to dispatch and take out of service. What do you guys think of Tinian so far? Pretty interesting stuff, huh? And a little hidden secret. Tinian's quite overlooked. When someone plans a destination to the Marianas, people tend to think more about Guam or Saipan or even Rhoda. Rhoda's a little jewel too. But Tinian, pretty remote, pretty sparse. There's not a whole lot here, other than just a history and a deep. This is the Ushi Field air raid shelters here. This is the outer apron again. This is a air operations building over there, and then the road down to the left was the admin building. But these are the air raid shelters. Imagine hearing the planes come overhead, hearing the air raid alarms screaming, and you're rushing over here fast as you can, out of breath. Try to pry open that heavy-duty door. Got this massive wall right here. This is to block and protect the door. Got to crawl in here. You hear the explosions going off, bombs are hitting, concussions, shocks. Shrapnel's hitting the side of your bunker. You don't know if the Americans are coming by shore. You got to protect yourself. So what looks to be gun ports here aren't. They're part of ventilation, and then it says these were reinforced glass for observation. So you weren't so barricaded in it that you couldn't see what was going on. You could actually peek out to see when it was safe. I'm going to spend a lot of time at this building here. This is the old radio communications building, another Japanese building. They're the largest Japanese structure remaining here. And it's so probably 2 miles south of where I was just at, up around Able runway and all the other operation centers and stuff. Obviously wanted to keep their comm center well away from targets, so they could still communicate to the rest of the world or back to the Emperor anyway. I'm not going to go in here too deep, but take a quick peek inside here. I'm sure there were generators and just huge radios. It's about 11:15 now. I got here about 7:30. The flight got here early, so seen quite a bit on the northern end of Tinian in just almost 4 hours. So, gonna hop in the car here, move on south. It's been a pretty fun trip so far. Interesting. It's gonna be short, so let's pack in as much as we can and move on. On our way, let's go! I'm here at the corner of Broadway and 86th Street. So I'm gonna go west on 86th and then go back north on the next street up. It's kind of heading back up parallel where I was just at, but I want to get to, I believe there's still a old US military landing craft, and it also should get me back to the site where the storage place on the tarmac of the runway where the Enola Gay was kept at. And again, I think that might be where the photograph that my grandfather had taken. Again, who knows? It could have been anywhere on the runway. I'm sure he was here for a year or two. But again, 82nd Broadway, love the way they named it after streets in New York. Holy cow, I found it. There's not much left, man. But this is what was once a circle off, I guess, what was that saying, 8th Avenue? Half the circle's gone. It's overgrown, completely overgrown. So it was throwing me off, but I saw something way back in the boonies here, back in the weeds, and it's a US landing craft. So I don't know how overgrown it is, but check this out. Man, this is straight from World War II, man. Let's get through here. I hope there's no bees in here. Shouldn't be snakes. Look at that. It's fragile. Not much left. Look at that. Man, it's an old landing craft. Check this out. You know what, back on the beach we looked at? I mean, this is stuff that I saw over there. Look at that. Look at that. It still turns. Check that out. Look at that. The drive that the tracks wrapped around still spins. It's amazing. And I couldn't get around to the other side. It's just thick over here, but I did manage to get up on top of it, or up on the side. I've got to be very careful because it is thin. Imagine that, man. This is where the troops used to be. Drivers were in there. Tracks ran up around where I'm standing now. This thing would come storming into the beach. Amphibious landing craft. Wow, nice. All right. I'm gonna move on from here. I've kind of cut my feet up again. I didn't bring hiking shoes, man. I left them at home. So, move on. I saw this listed on the map, but it's just so overgrown in here. It's just kind of being forgotten about, I'm sure. But a cool find, man. I'm sure there were a lot more here, and maybe still are, just buried or have been just disassembled. So cool. I'm gonna move on. One of the interesting things here is I know what led me to want to come on this trip was just the interest of the USS Indianapolis. I'd made a mistake the other day when I was coming over here. I'd been printed that Tinian was the USS Indianapolis last port of call, when all actuality it wasn't. Guam really was, but man, it was one hell of a ship, man. This thing, USS Indianapolis, actually left California bound for Hawaii, and it did it in 74.5 hours, man. Averaged about 29 knots. That record still stands today. Arrived in Pearl Harbor 19 July, and then after that the ship raced across the Pacific unaccompanied, man. Had no escorts, no protection, and got in here to Tinian on 26 July, and all records indicate that the USS Indianapolis was at anchor, and at anchor about 1,000 yards from shore. So I don't know how much of that seawall there is original, or if it was even there back then, but records indicate that she was about 1,000 yards from shore. Some landing craft had to come out and actually assist with getting the secret cargo, which actually was the uranium for the atomic bomb, to get it into shore, get it up to the runway for the Enola Gay. And after it dropped its cargo, it headed toward Guam, did a crew swap in Guam, waited for some additional orders to meet up and to lay takeoff. She left Guam on the 28th, and after she left Guam unaccompanied, we all know that on the 30th of July, just 14 minutes after midnight, man, she was hit by 2 torpedoes from a Japanese sub. Became a famous story. Was immortalized in the movie Jaws. But yeah, it really kind of stood as a powerful story. Me growing up as a kid, kind of loved the movie Jaws. Didn't know much about the actual shipwreck. Thought it was just a made-up fictional thing in the movie Jaws until I learned more about it. So it's the Port of Tinian, folks. Another one of the reasons I came over here, that to see where the Enola Gay had been parked at. Been a great trip, man. Been busy. Just in 5 hours now. I've seen a lot. Tinian's a small island, but not all that small. I mean, I got around in the last 4 hours by car, and I've been going. So, see what else is around here. First, again, I'm gonna stop for a little chow. Pretty hungry. See ya! That's where everybody said come to try is JCs Cafe. Give JC's a try for lunch. Hello. Here at the JC Cafe, and ordered the JC burger. Give it a shot. Some fries. After a little lunch, yeah, I head back to the airport. It's pretty good. Good burger. Get a handmade patty. Good fries. Got a garden on the sandwich there. Everything's there. So, good meal. Give this burger a try. Unhinged his jaw. Crunchy lettuce, onion, tomato, pickle. Good patty of beef. Not bad. Okay, I'm here in the holding area, departure area for the Tinian airport, and I got my boarding pass. A laminated star, number 1. Green. Boarding pass for Star Marianas.